An exciting weekend ahead in sports as the Miami Heat have a chance to close out the Eastern Conference Finals and clinch their first Finals appearance since 2014. In the West, there's a crucial Game 4 where the Lakers could go up 3-1 or the Nuggets could tie it up at 2. In the NHL, a similar situation in the Stanley Cup Finals between the Lightning and the Stars. Tampa Bay has the 2-1 advantage and look to put Dallas in a difficult situation. So, can the Heat close out the Eastern Conference Finals? Will the Nuggets have to make another 3-1 comeback? And do the Lightning seemingly clinch the series with a win tonight? My panel and I will discuss this shortly. I'm Liam Plate, only the best of the best. We're talking All Pro. We now welcome you back to Hall Pro. I'm your host, Liam Play. I'm now joined by my panel, Dylan Camp, Justin Morris. Guys, how we doing?
Doing well, Liam, except for a couple of midterms I got to take. Not too happy about that. But it's Thursday, which is technically my Friday, so doing well.
It's excited to talk some sports. Let's get to it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. You know, we have, first up, we got the Heat Celtics. So another installment of a fantastic rivalry in the NBA. I mean, Miami's up 3-1, so they played last on Wednesday where Miami took the win. So what's something that stood out to you guys in that game?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the complete obvious, and that is Tyler Hero, the walking bucket that he is. 37 points last night, which was by far the most by any player, a rookie in a playoff game in Heat history. He also passed D. Wade for total points, I believe, in Heat history as a rookie as well. So when you're talking about same company as the Flash, Dwayne Wade, that's pretty good. And also, I saw a stat on SportsCenter today that said Tyler Hero is also the youngest player, or the first player born in the 2000s to score over 20 points a game. He's younger than me. I was born in 1999. So to look at that, see him dropping buckets against the Celtics, Brad Stevens, Marcus Smart, defenders like that, absolutely crazy. This dude is going to be a problem for a long time. And aside from that 20 points, he's also averaging 20, 7.5 rebounds, and 5.3 assists. A complete player along with the walking bucket that he himself will definitely tell you about.
I was thinking the same thing. It blows my mind that he is younger than us. But what stood out to me most in that game was the Celtics' turnovers. I mean, they had 11 more turnovers than the Heat. It was 19 turnovers for the Celtics, only 8 for the Heat. And down in crunch time, when you got a couple minutes left, there was a lot of sloppy passes, a lot of sloppy overall possessions where they just gave up the ball to Miami, and it really allowed them to establish the lead late. And then luckily they were able to hold on for Miami with those last couple minutes of free throws and just kind of how basketball games seem to play out at the end, where it always seems to come down to the end very close. But just the Celtics' turnovers was really messy, and I think it's what cost them the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Celtics are one of those teams. They'll be playing well for a little bit, and then the Heat will come back and get the win. So, I mean, they play next tonight in Game 5. So, I mean, who do you think gets – I mean, does Miami close out the series tonight?
Yeah, Dylan, I definitely agree with you what you said about the turnovers. I think the Celtics, in terms of just their turnover percentage, I actually took a stat about this, so I'm glad you mentioned it. 14.5 turnover percentage over 100 plays for Boston. So basically you're telling me every time you come down the floor, you're almost going to turn the ball over once out of every 5 possessions, which to me for a playoff team is just absolutely terrible. And then another stat I wanted to mention, even though Jason Tatum had 28 points in the second half in that game, scored absolutely zero egg ball in that one, goose egg in the first. To me, if you're a superstar like that, Jason Tatum, which I believe he is, some might disagree with me, but if you're that talented, if you're supposed to be that team's alpha dog, there is absolutely no way you can score 0 points in any first half of any playoff game. It does not matter. Yes, they have a lot of talent, but to me, starts with Jason Tatum. Also, another guy I want to think he needs to step up is Kemba Walker. I don't think he's had a great playoff series. In the Heat, he's played a little bit better, but overall in the playoffs, I think he definitely needs to improve. So my opinion, those guys, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and then you have guys like Tyler Hero, who's not even close to the first option. He actually comes off the bench. If he's beating you for 37, I think it's over.
I think the one way this is over is if Bam Adebayo plays. He got kind of shaken up pretty late in that last game. He kind of seemed like he had a wrist injury. If he plays, I think it's over. He has been dominating the Celtics bigs. He's very, very athletic, and he also has a height advantage over guys like Daniel Tice. When they bring Robert Williams off the bench, it kind of helps the Celtics a little bit because he's younger, a little bit more athletic. But Adebayo is really beating up on Tice. So I think if he's healthy, he's good to go, and he can play, I think it spells trouble for the Celtics, and the series might be over in 5.
Yeah, I mean, it will be an interesting game to see if the Heat win or not. But the Celtics, they still got a shot. They're only down 3-1. I mean, if you want to make it seem like they still have a chance. But Justin, you've mentioned it a little bit. You mentioned Tatum, Dylan. You mentioned the turnovers. What do the Celtics need to do to get back in the series, get the Game 5 win, make it 3-2, and give themselves some sort of chance to win?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if Bam Adebayo does play, keep him away, as far away from the basket as you can. Really try and guard him outside the lane so he's not getting those easy buckets. He's not getting those second chance points and opportunities for the Heat because he's been bullying you on the glass. Just try and keep him as far away from the paint as possible. And also, we've talked about it a lot. The turnovers are horrible. If you can limit the turnovers at least a little bit, you'll be in this game. The Celtics have out-turned over the Heat in pretty much every game this series except one. Got to take better care of the ball, and they'll have a chance. They might be able to push it to 6, maybe 7.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan, right before we went on the air, we were talking about Bam Adebayo's defense and how in Game 1 when he blocked Jason Tatum's dunk attempt to win the game, basically, his wrist pretty much bent almost as far back. To me, it seemed like it should have been broken, but I think that play was a whole lot more than a great defensive play. I think it really took the heart and soul out of that team in Game 1. Bam Adebayo is definitely going to be a problem for the Celtics to match up with. I do like Robert Williams coming off the bench, but I don't think that their big men can really stop this dude. And also, in terms of offense for the Celtics, I think it's been really impossible for them to beat that zone as well. So I think matching up Bam Adebayo with any players that the Celtics have, and then also beating that zone has been really impossible for them. So if they're going to want to take a game, and we're going to talk about this next, but come out with the 3-1 comeback like another team has done so far in this playoffs, they're going to have to beat that zone.
Yeah, Justin, you bring up the Adebayo block. I remember I was watching that game. That play was insane. Did not expect that to happen. But we've seen the Nuggets do it twice this playoffs, come back from down 3-1. So here's the main question. Can the Celtics do it?
I'm going to say no. And honestly, I am rooting for the Celtics, but I don't think they can. I think the Heat are too strong, especially everything we talked about, the zone, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. They're just outplaying them, so I don't think they can.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say the same exact thing. I think when you talk from a coach's standpoint, Brad Stevens and Eric Spoelstra are pretty even in just talking about strategies and how good they are as coaches. But when you look at players and just the overall mentalities, Jimmy Butler, Andre Iguodala, we definitely talked a lot about Bam Adebayo. That's just too much for the Heat to handle, or for the Celtics to handle, excuse me.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. I think the Heat get the win in Game 5 and close out the series, advance to their first NBA Finals since 2014, back when they had LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. But now let's move to the other side, the Western Conference. You got the Lakers and the Nuggets. Lakers are winning the series 2-1, but Game 3 was a completely different story from Games 1 and 2. The Nuggets had a very commanding win. So Jamal Murray went off, Jokic went off. So, I mean, how do you think Denver's win changes the momentum of this series? Dylan?
Honestly, I think you said it's different from Game 1 and 2. I really don't think it is. I think Denver outplayed them in Game 2. The Lakers got lucky, quite honestly, because Denver defended that last play really well, and Anthony Davis got off a great fadeaway 3 shot that he made to win that game. But I think it's been Denver that has actually outplayed the Lakers so far this series. So I would say that Denver's got all the momentum right now. They're probably pretty confident going into this game. Jamal Murray actually said he feels like they should be up 2-1. And I just think that Denver has honestly been the better team thus far. The Lakers have the lead because of that shot. But besides that, I think Denver's been more convincing to me so far that they can make the finals.
Yeah, I really love that take. And LeBron said something interesting about Anthony Davis taking that shot. He kind of just said, you know what, we'll live and die with you taking that shot all the time. And it's kind of ironic because in the last game they played before, the NBA stopped, it was Anthony Davis that took that same shot against the Brooklyn Nets and ended up missing it. I'm going to have to play devil's advocate here against Anthony Davis and say, I don't live and die with him taking that shot to win the game from three-point range. I think, he's definitely a great player, but he has struggled a whole lot with inconsistency, and I definitely agree with you. The Nuggets outplayed the Lakers thoroughly in Game 2. It was just a lucky shot that beat it for them. Game 3, I think we really saw how well they can play against them when they're playing a complete 48 minutes. So to me, I think the Nuggets can easily climb back into this one, and if you want to count them out, just look at what happened against the Jazz. And, of course, those other guys in L.A., the Clippers, same exact thing. I think they can definitely come back.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this series, you had a lot of stars. You have LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis. By the way, I have to agree with you, Justin. I don't know if I trust. I live and die by Anthony Davis taking the last shot of every game. But you got LeBron, you got AD, then you have Jamal Murray, Jokic, Rudy Gobert. I mean, Kyle Kuzma, Rajon Rondo's been playing well. I mean, who has been the MVP of this series so far? A lot of superstars, a lot of NBA All Stars. So for you guys, who's it been? Justin?
I would have to say Jamal Murray so far for the Nuggets. I think, just the way that he can create shots and make those shots as well. We saw him making the dagger in Game 3 and walking back with the shimmy like, you guys are absolutely tripping for leaving me open. I think Jamal Murray has really been the best player so far. Most people would probably say LeBron or Anthony Davis. I'm not going to give it to AD just because of that one shot. I think Jamal Murray has been the hardest player to stop. So I'm going to have to give it to Jamal Murray throughout the playoffs.
I would say AD is probably the obvious choice because he put up a monstrous game one. Game one he was great, and obviously game two he hit that shot. But to me, it's honestly been Rajon Rondo off the bench. He has been putting up assists like crazy. He averaged 9 assists in each of their wins. He had 8 in their loss. He's really running that second team offense when big guys like LeBron and AD aren't on the floor. And I think he's been able to help keep their leads or kind of come back when they needed to. I think Rajon Rondo's been great. He hasn't scored a ton, but just the way he's been passing the ball, getting guys open, he's been my MVP so far.
Yeah, 2 great picks there. I mean, very quickly, who needs to step up more for either of these teams?
I think Michael Porter Jr. He's been averaging about 13 points per game so far. If he can get to around 18, 20, I think the Nuggets have this thing signed, sealed, delivered. They're on to the finals. He's supposed to be their number 3 scorer, and he hasn't been that convincing so far in this series. If he can pick it up the rest of this series, I think the Nuggets really have it.
Yeah, I definitely like that take. I mean, people blasted Michael Porter Jr. when he came out and said, I want the ball more. But to me, you got another rookie on the other side, Tyler Hill, who just dropped 37. Michael Porter Jr. has shown that, kind of same confidence that I'll take a big shot whenever and feel like I can make it. My player, I'm going to have to go with Danny Green. I think Danny Green has been getting a lot of hate from a lot of people just for missing shots and actually his defense as well. He was praised so much for that defense when he came over for Toronto, and that's one of the reasons that the Lakers signed him was because, okay, this dude can hit a shot, he can play defense. That's what we need, and especially with Avery Bradley being out, I think guarding those guards that Denver has, like you said, Michael Porter Jr. is not a guard, but he can definitely split time at that 2 spot. And Jamal Murray as well. I think Danny Green's going to have a great defensive next few games, but also just make some shots. That's what he's there for.
Exactly. I mean, two great picks. I mean, Danny Green, we saw him in the finals with Toronto, and then back in San Antonio back in the day. I mean, 2 great shooter, great defender there. But very quickly, just a quick pick here. Do the Lakers lead 3-1, or do the Nuggets tie it up 2-2? Justin?
I'm going to go with the Nuggets 2-2.
Yeah, I'm going to say for the first time they don't go down 3-1 in the series. I got the same thing, tie 2-2.
There we go. So you have it. You got the picks from our 2 analysts. But next we're going to move on to hockey, the Stanley Cup Finals. You got the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars, 2 surprise teams here for the finals going into the bubble. But, I mean, the Lightning lead 2-1. So what does Tampa Bay need to do to extend their lead to 3-1? We'll start with our PTV hockey expert, Dylan Camp here. Dylan?
Just keep shooting. I mean, they have over 30 shots on goal per game so far in the Stanley Cup Finals. And Anton Khudobin obviously played out of his mind game 1, but he can't produce like that every night. And we've seen that so far in games 2 and 3. I think Khudobin's going to start game 4 after he got pulled in game 3. But if Tampa just keeps getting pucks on net, they're going to find it. Khudobin's not as good as Vasilevsky on their end. Just keep shooting. You got Point, Hedman, and Palat, each with 10 or more goals this postseason. And now you got Stamkos, who finally is back. He can shoot the puck like crazy. I think if you just keep getting pucks on net, a lot are going to go in, and you're going to be able to score a lot of goals and win this series.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Dylan. I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning just have to do the same exact thing that they've been doing. You talk about Stamkos not even playing in around 7-8 months. For him to come back, and he's definitely one of the hearts and souls of this team. So, we saw him get a quick goal, but the fact they're doing it without this guy, with players like you mentioned, Kevin Kucherov, Braden Point, all these guys are having phenomenal series. I think, Dallas, their goalie definitely has to step up. I think he had a great game in Game 1 where he had 35 saves, but as far as Game 2 and Game 3, I think the Lightning really just put a whole lot of pressure on him. You mentioned getting shots off is really what's going to put a lot of pressure on him and make him have to step up and make big plays. More shots you take, the higher percentage you have of making those. So I think Khudobin's really going to have his hands full players like Heaven and Point can keep doing what they've been doing so far and put the pressure on them, make big hits, make big stops, and just hustle their butts off, I think the Lightning are going to take this one.
Well, will be interesting to see how that series shapes up, to see if the Lightning go up 3-1 or if Dallas can tie it 2-2. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have today on Hall Pro. For my panel, Dylan Camp, Justin Morris, I'm your host, Liam Plate. We'll see you next week.